the brainwashed, bloodthirsty people that believe it is their right to murder, kidnap, sexually abuse, and commit other atrocities in the name of religion are widely supported as long as it is against the Jews or Israelis. Many that call themselves Christians that hate Jews use Jesus or religion as a shield to hide their hate and evil intent. They hide behind religion and the name of Jesus as they support those that hate and demonize as they do and that murder and commit atrocities. And thus, the Hamas October 7th massacres inside of Israel receives widespread support. The terrible war in Gaza that followed gets blamed on the already hated Jews in Israel instead of on the Hamas terrorists that massacred, murdered, sexually abused, burned people alive, kidnapped, committed other atrocities on October 7th, and then ran back to Gaza to hide in their tunnels and use the civilians and children above ground in Gaza as their human shields to hide behind and beneath. Hamas knew full well that their exploitation of the children and civilians of Gaza above ground as the human shields from which to wage war and terror and the ensuing child and civilian casualties will get fully blamed on Israel and not on themselves. Hamas spent billions protecting themselves in their tunnels and deliberately chose not to spend a single penny on even one bomb shelter above ground for children or civilians. Meanwhile, Hamas leaders in Qatar are billionaires and millionaires. Hamas wanted civilian casualties and wants children to die just to win the propaganda war against Israel and because of their demented cult's perception of death and martyrdom. This is a war that never should have been, but because hatred for Jews in Israel is so widespread, they gave Hamas what it wants, license to kill and no responsibility for the casualties of war that Hamas itself started, no responsibility for Hamas hunkering down in protective tunnels, leaving the population it was supposed to protect with no protection from the war Hamas starts and wants. No responsibility for Hamas stealing food and aid and killing civilians that stand and killing Gazan civilians that stand in their way. No responsibility for Hamas' abuse of Israeli hostages and for Hamas's abuse and exploitation of the people of Gaza that are not Hamas. For the world, it is easier to blame Israel and Jews than recognize the cancer of hate, religious imperialism, intolerance and terror, violence, murder, sexual abuse, kidnapping, and other atrocities, all done in the name of religion and God. While Israel and Jews are demonized, all of the other organizations and regimes that share similar beliefs as Hamas get a free pass to continue slaughtering. The anti-Israel crowd uses the children of Gaza to virtue signal the millions of children that have already been killed and that are being killed by war, famine, disease, and the many wars by the many organizations and regimes like Hamas receives no condemnation and nothing but silence. Their silence makes them complicit in the mass murdering happening all over the planet. They virtue signal, but they are in fact enablers for Hamas atrocities and civilian casualties inside of Gaza and for the crimes committed against millions of children by Hamas-type organizations worldwide. And so, all over the world, in the many places where Jews cannot be blamed, there is silence for child marriage, brutal suppression of women and girls, murder and persecution against religious minorities, persecution and murder of gays and lesbians, wars, famines, genocide. Few to no one protests the Taliban's brutal oppression of women and girls. Few to no one protests child marriage, which is widespread and destroying children in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, North Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Bangladesh, and many more places. No one protests the genocide in Darfur by IRSF Arab militias against the black Muslim population. No one protests the many terrorist organizations and regimes that share similar beliefs as Hamas, including the Muslim Brotherhood, of which Hamas is a chapter, Abu Sayyaf, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, the Allied Democratic Front, Boko Haram, ISIS, and the many more violent organizations and regimes using religion and God to justify the worst of evils. The same disregard for human life that Israel faces from Hamas, millions of people face in many countries of the world by the many Hamas-type organizations and regimes that have spread across the planet like wildfire. These organizations and regimes mass murder, sexually abuse, and commit all kinds of atrocities. But since there is no Jew or Israel to blame, there is nothing but silence.